What is the ideal Kenya that you do want, right? The Kenya that you love. What is the ideal Kenya scenario that you love to see every day? Well, dozens of activists gathered in Nairobi yesterday and said the clamor for constitutional changes by the ruling class could be a detrimental to the country if Kenyans allow leaders' interests to prevail. While launching a campaign dubbed Kenya Tuitakayo, that is Kenya We Want, the activists called upon Kenyans to rise and fight against impunity as well as claim political and economic freedom. And this morning we want to focus on that on the Leadership Forum. What is the ideal Kenya that we do want? Kenya Tuitakayo, right? So you can head over to our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is our profile name on Facebook. Remember to give us a thumbs up there and like our page as well. And 20686 is our SMS portal. Our panelists are already here. They've been also just thumbing through the pages of the dailies this morning, and we want to hear from them as well. What is the ideal Kenya that you do want? I want to hear your sentiments, and those are our Twitter handles or our social media platforms that you can use for us to interact today. Allow me to introduce them this morning, right? We have with us here Mary Mukinde. She is a leadership coach, executive coach as well. And we do have also Sam Mohochi, who is the CEO or the executive director of International Commission of Jurists. We have also the executive director of Kenya Human Rights Commission. This is George Kegoro. And we do have also the CEO of Inuka Trust, John Gidongo, with us as well. Right. Good morning, gentlemen and lady.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen and lady.
Good morning.
Yeah, you need to watch a bit of vivid early in the morning, right?
You wake up earlier than us.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a
Oh, so you're still your system is still booting. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
rebooting slowly by slowly.
Yes.
Fantastic. Let's just begin from where we had this particular launch yesterday. Kenya Tuitakayo. Why Kenya Tuitakayo and why now? Let's begin with you, George Kegoro.
I think Kenya Tuitakayo because it is a shared aspiration on the part of all the actors that are trying to bring change at this time. There is no one across the political divide and outside of politics, but people who are trying to do reform. Everybody's agreed that the ideal Kenya is not yet there. So if you go, for example, to the handshake, let's start at the handshake. The handshake starts from a point of saying the Kenya that is the ideal Kenya is not in place, and it is promising that it is going to move the country to a Kenya Tuitakayo situation. If you go to the initiative that is led by the faiths that has also launched, it is also saying we want reforms to put the country in a place where it ought to be, because it isn't currently in that place.
Yes.
Our own movement, Kenya Tuitakayo, well, some were calling it season 2 because there was a Kenya Tuitakayo before. It has the same premise. That's why it is starting that the ideal is not there. And we should all work, and we're going to be working towards bringing the country to an ideal situation. I need to add that the commonality of a starting point, that the Kenya that everybody needs and wants is not in place, is probably the only thing that is shared in common by all these groups. After that, they sharply divide in the way they are going to cause that Kenya they want to come into place. So, for example, if you go to the handshake, the handshake says we want to move the country to a better position than it currently is, and the way to do that has been decided for us by President Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. So they've decided this is the place where we want to take the country. They've also decided this is that they are the two of them together with the task force that they have appointed and are the ones who are going to take the country there. So it's for them. There is no citizens are not involved. This is their project. The two of them are going to push us to where they want. The difference between them and us is that we define we don't prescribe what the problem is.
Yes.
that will be done by citizens themselves. Citizens will decide what their problem is. Citizens will define the solution to that problem, and citizens will also define the process of getting the transformation necessary to move the country from where it is to the Kenya Tuitakayo place where they want it to go. So the big difference, the commonality is that all of us share an aspiration to improve Kenya somewhat, but the big difference is on the part of the initiative led by the political leadership of this country. They are the ones who are going to do it. There is no place for citizens. Hakuna mwananchi anafanya hapo. Wao wanakuja, handshake, they say this is we've got a 9-point agenda. That 9-point agenda has been decided by themselves. They've decided on a roadmap. That roadmap is by themselves. They've decided on where the eventual place where the country is going to land, and that is by themselves, and the citizens are not part of it.
But that is not really entirely true, because you have this is actually a framework that was formed by that particular initiative. We have the 9-point agenda just as a framework. Then we'll go back to the wananchi, with those 9 points agenda, also to collect their views, which they've not really started so far. As I'm given to understand, also finances also is they're a bit in a pickle as far as finances is concerned. Do you hold with this view? You think this is just being shoehorned or calmed down our throats?
The dilemma subsisting at the moment is that the Building Bridges initiative, for example, is extra-legal. It is not located in any legal framework. It lacks public participation. And as such, we tend to think that the position of the citizen and the Kenyan is central in determining what is the problem, how do you go about resolving it. Since the Building Bridges initiative, for example, started, it's been quite some time. They have not reached out to anyone. They operate in secrecy. It runs counter to the spirit of the Constitution of Kenya on public participation. We don't know which direction it's headed, and we deemed it fit to have the conversation by the citizens themselves, because you go across the country and discover everybody is disgruntled. We do not think we are being governed in a manner in which we had expected. We do not think that the existing legal framework, both constitutional and statutory, is not being deployed in a manner in which we had expected. To that extent, then, I think Kenya Tuitakayo is a unique movement that seeks to speak to all sectors of this society.
Thank you.
In defining what is the problem first, as opposed to jumping to prescriptions that include, let's change the law, let's create this law, without looking ourselves in the eye and asking, what have we got wrong as a society and as a nation?
Yeah. Right, thank you. Let's hear just briefly from Mary before we take a short break. Mary, what is the ideal Kenya that you do want, and this particular initiative that also they're coming up with, Kenya Tuitakayo, do you see that it can make a discernible difference? It can move, the needle a jot higher to, inclusivity, also citizens' participation?
I feel like the average Kenyan, all this is slightly above me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And this is where we go bland. You read something in newspaper and you just pass over and you say, too much highbrow issues. I don't understand them. I don't know what this new initiative is. And I go on with my life, which is working hard, trying to get some money to pay rent, get my children to school. And I say, let me leave it to the experts. My view is, as an ordinary citizen, which is what I'm doing here, and as a leadership coach, as an ordinary Kenyan who's working hard, and just somebody who looks at things at the average level, is that I'm really tired of all these new initiatives. I'm sure they're good and they will help, but we've had the Kenya we want, now Kenya Tuitakayo. There is so many of these new initiatives. I think, and I read somewhere actually, the CEO of Nation Group many years ago, I think 2009, wrote that the Kenya we want is a very easy question. Actually, the more difficult question is, how do we get to the Kenya we want? And to me, that is what is more important. And there isn't any one time that a country or even an organization can sit and say, let's sit together, let's agree on all the things that we need to do and start to do them, and that it will come great. Everything is a constant evolution of change, of tweaking with an organization of a country, and constantly tweaking it to get better and better. So for me, there are three key things that I would say from just an ordinary Kenyan's point that I think that would help us get better. We've come a long way. There's still things that need to be fixed. But for me, if we had things like a very efficient and swift justice system, 24-hour courts, where we have pride, and that includes the police system, that we know whatever we do, I can be able to get retribution, whether it's private, it's commercial, it's government. Then more open government, getting information accessible to people. And the last one for me is citizens' participation. I'm so tired of people complaining. I think we as citizens, and that's why I agree with the two gentlemen, that we ourselves have to take active participation in what happens. At the MCA level, we've got to complain, write, email, at the county government. We ourselves cannot just sit back and constantly be these people who are tweeting, who are following, who are exposing things. And we have all this, mulika mwizi type of mentality without actually saying, what is my participation in this? What do I need to do to be a real involved citizenry? And whichever one of us knows something, propose that change now. Waiting for the whole citizenry to have meetings, to agree where we need to go. That's what happened in Bomas. And honestly, I'm not a fan.